Oh, thank you for being here. All the cool people.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the first Region 2 Planning and Policy Council meeting of 2022. It's so good to see you all. As you can see, we're still meeting virtually 2 years later. We're still virtually, and that's to keep everyone safe. So we're meeting virtually per the Open Meetings Act after discussing with all the regional council chairs and vice chairs on what would be the best option for our council members to keep everyone safe. And with this new variant going around, we decided virtual is the best option, and it's something that we'll discuss again before the next quarterly meetings. But for now, we're continuing to meet virtually. So with that being said, this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted to the department website within the next day or two. Please keep your phones or computers muted if you're not speaking, just to prevent any feedback from coming through. And please also state your name when presenting or asking any questions. It's helpful to Chris when capturing the minutes. So Mary Nell, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, and we'll do attendance when we go through the minutes.
Perfect. Wonderful. I'm Mary Nell Osborne, and I have the honor of being the chair for this region committee. Region 2, the mighty and most powerful committee in the state, if you ask me. But what I wanted to do is give some thanks, first of all, for everybody taking this time out to come. This is ramping up to our most important time of the year where we really do the work. So we need all hands and thoughts and ideas, and young people and old people alike, to get some needs for our region in particular identified and put in format that we can submit. So that's going to be our focus today. But I also want to identify some other folks on the screens. There's Chris Roberts. She's being muted today. She is our secretary, helps me keep organization. We do a lot to keep, things in notebooks and accurate records and minutes. So thanks to Chris for doing that. She's muted today because there's heat and air people at her house because she doesn't have heat and air today. So we'll pray for Chris in her chilly house. And there's also beautiful Jen Cagle looking very soft in that Barbara Streisand light today. I know, she's looking good. So Jen is here as a stand-in vice chair, I guess, at this point, and forever servant to the community. So thank you. Thank you all. Is there anybody else that I need to recognize? Somebody help me not overlook anyone. And members of the state, thank you. We'll get to you here in a minute. Oh, Ben Harrington. Yeah, he's just a fixture at any meeting going on. All right, so but we have some new people, and I want to see if they're here because I can only see so many faces. Welcome to the TDMHSAS reps. Ms. Moss is here. I'm gonna, and so what I want to make sure, Chris, is that we get out some applications for these new members, but also today go ahead and get names of committee chairs on whose committee you would like to be involved in doing work. And then Chad, also from TDMHSAS, welcome to you. Welcome to you. Thank you for finding us. And I do a lot of communication, so I want to make sure that we get you on our mailing list. Is Susan Stone here? No. Okay. She is a new member joining us. She's going to be on the Substance Abuse Committee with Gina and that cool group. Erin Reed, you are here. Welcome, welcome. Is this your first meeting or did you come to the last?
I was able to make it to the last one as well, but thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome. What about Katrina Klein? Was she able to join us? Okay, Katrina's a student and probably at school doing something really important. So Katrina is she's a University of Tennessee Knoxville MSW student, so she's gonna join us. And welcome to Sasha Henderson. Hey, Sasha. We're going to find out where you want to do some work in helping us out. So there's some new faces. Is there anybody here for the first time that I didn't catch your name?
You got me, Mary now? This is
Who's that?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, are you a new member?
Oh, no, I had to get off my phone, and so I only heard part of what you said.
Okay, well, she just checking. Cheryl's very shy. Okay, this is just welcoming new members and thanking them for showing up. Okay, so membership. So you can join this. We certainly want everybody participating. We're looking for consumer involvement, folks who have family members, folks who themselves are consumers, as well as students and professionals and providers. We're welcoming everyone to input. It's only going to be as good as we have a story. So if you need that application for voting membership, then go ahead and let us know. You can send a chat, I think. Not really right. I'm not really good at that, but or an email to me, and I'll post my email here. And just say you want to be a voting member, and we will get that to you. So I send out agendas, and we send out minutes, and I send out messages from the state about opportunities for trainings and grants and databases that are going to be helpful in us building these needs assessments as we go on into that period. So that if you get too many of those, I'm sorry, but this is the period for information. Our needs assessments are going to be submitted to the state by April 1st. I would like to have them from your committees. We have those 4 committees. I'll review those. We have adult, legislative, substance abuse committee, children and youth, and we have housing, which I think those folks have kind of come under adults right now. So if you're interested in housing topics, that would be your group. I think that the heads of those committees were attached to our agenda, but if not, I will bring that. We can get that out here in a bit. So I would like to have the identified needs from your committees to me by March 21st. That's going to give me a chance to format and make sure they're all in the required state format. God forbid it not be. And then we'll send those out virtually for folks to vote on as to what we're going to send forward from this region. Does that sound like correct and good process? Okay, so it's going to be a turnaround of that'll give us about 10 days, 2 weeks to get everything voted on and sent out. And I will send it out by the deadline. What we can submit, Commissioner William has approved because of this suggestion from this region, a total of 2 to 6 needs per region. And however, the areas have to be equally represented. So between mental health and substance abuse, if we submit 3 mental health, we have to also submit 3 substance abuse. So it can be substance abuse for children, substance abuse for adults, it can be housing, it can be for children, but it has to fall equally across those 2 topic areas. So if we submit 2 mental health, we have to submit 2 substance abuse. Does that make sense? Am I saying it clearly? I see heads nodding. Thank you. Okay.
You are, Mary, but the commissioner agreed through the recommendation process in the legislative recs that increasing the number from 4 total to 6 would be supportive of the need to have more recommendations for children. So that should be something we make sure we do, because the proposal came out of East Tennessee, that we wanted to have that ability to make sure we weren't choosing adults over children in the process. So,
Okay, and we've been in that bind before.
yes,
Yeah.
we have.
Yes, we have. So we have, by our request to expand the number, then we want to also make sure that we are representing adults and children's needs. So thank you, Ben, for that clarification. I like how his mind works.
Mayor Now, this is
Yes.
Davis. Good morning.
Hello. Hi, Davis.
How are you?
I'm
You're great. That's good. That's awesome to know. Just wanted to inform the group there's a little bit of a change that we need to do in reference of the order of in which things that you had identified. The process that you're speaking of is perfectly fine to do. However, one change that we need to make on that is if there is a roll call vote after the meeting is held. In other words, if you want to finalize the needs during this meeting, there has to be a roll call vote during the meeting. If that is done outside of this meeting via email or other such held separate meeting, then what we would need to do, you can still submit that information into us by the deadline of April 1st. No issue with that. But then at your next meeting, scheduled quarterly meeting, we'd have to do a formal roll call vote per requirements of the Open Meetings Act to make that an official vote during this particular time that we're meeting the pandemic virtually. So that is a little bit of a change from what you just described.
okay.
Any questions with that or any clarification that you need on that?
Yes, can I say it back? As I understand it, you're saying we can proceed as I described, but then the next time we meet, we have to do a roll call vote about what was submitted?
Yes,
Okay.
each regional or SPC committee that votes to adopt the 2 to 6 needs as their submission to the department during a notice, open meeting of that committee or that region would have to do a roll call vote at that meeting or the next scheduled meeting. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you for that
So-
clarification.
Absolutely. And if as you go through this process to talk about this, if you need any further clarification, I, myself, Kirby, or Kurt are on the call to assist you all as you go through this process if needed, any other feedback from the department. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have my chat box open. All right. Well, I think I'm getting up here in the 21st century. Chris, will you help me remember that when we build the next agenda? Thank you.
Already written down.
Oh, man. Helpers, it's wonderful, helping each other. Okay. Kirby, I think I'm throwing it back to you. We are back to reviewing the minutes from November 11th.
Right. So we'll just I can put them up on the screen if you need. Hopefully people had everyone had a chance to review. It was shared in the email. You'll just need to ask for a motion to approve in a second, and then we'll go through each participant and record their vote.
Okay. All right. So I am asking for a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting November 11th, 2021. Is
Move to
there
approve. This is Erin Reed.
Aaron Reed approves. Is there a second?
Second.
Daniel F. Ellis approves or offers the second. Okay, ready for your roll call.
Okay. I am going to go through each individual name. Just a reminder, department staff need to abstain from voting. And I will ask everyone, yes, no, or abstain. Kirby Fye with the department, abstain. Avis Easley with the department, abstain. Ben Harrington,
Yes.
Brian Buck,
Yes.
Jan Cagle,
Yes.
Candace Allen,
Abstain.
Karen Broadnax,
Yes.
Daniel Ellis, I think he's seconded, so.
It was a yes in sign language. It was meant to be a yes verbally. I just couldn't get to the mute button. So,
Aaron Reed,
Sorry, yes.
Kayla Simon,
Yes.
Chris Roberts,
Yes.
Cooper or Cal Bryant,
Abstain.
Kurt Hippel with the department, abstain. Marinelle Osborne,
Yes.
Mindy Grimm,
Yes.
Amy Olson,
Yes.
Pamela, is it Laskowiak?
Yes. Yes.
Sarah Canada,
Yes.
Sasha Henderson,
abstain.
Cheryl McCormick,
Abstain.
Tammy Wilson,
Yes.
and then we have 3 callers. Who were the 3 callers, Chris?
Hold on, because there's another new one.
Okay.
One of the callers, let me look, see, because your list is in a different order than my list.
Oh, okay. The number
Sorry.
that ends in 6190.
That's the new one.
Hello, the caller.
Kimberly,
Go ahead.
it's Kimberly Bowman. I am the consumer housing specialist for Region 2.
Hi,
And I will
Kimberly. Abstain? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Phone number ending in 2922.
Yes, that's Chad Cannon. I'm the East Tennessee Regional Advocate for Tennessee Mental Health Consumer Association. Abstain.
Thank you. And then the caller ending in 3207.
Is that Miss Moss?
I think it is. Ms. Moss, are you on?
Yes.
Okay, we're asking for a vote for approving the minutes.
My answer is yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank
My
you.
number ends in 4396.
For whatever reason, it's showing up 3207.
Oh, strange.
What's the total number of yeses and abstains? You're on mute.
15 yes. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 abstain.
Okay, so majority voted yes. Okay, Mary now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Those are the things we do. So we have these established.
Marinette, this is
Yes.
Avis again. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't do something.
Just if you would, at the end, if you could call for a majority vote and approve those minutes.
I call for a majority vote of 15 and approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Phew, we might just fall apart. Okay. We have, as I said before, several committees, and we're going to hear from those in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure, I think that's what I'm doing now, Kirby, am I correct? Reviewing the committee membership.
Yeah, it's whichever,
Okay.
however you want to proceed.
Okay. Legislative Committee, I have Ben Harrington as the chair of that committee, Michael Yates and Mel Whaley as your committee members.
Okay.
And I'll send this out again as I just go through it. For the children and youth, which is huge and it's lovely. Amy Olson, no, is that right? I've lost my page one. Amy Olson is the chair of that, co-chair of that committee with Tammy Summers.
It's actually just me, Amy now. Tammy resigned.
Oh, okay. She resigned from the committee?
Yes, she took
Okay.
a different position.
Okay, thank you. So I know we have several members on that committee. I'm not going to go through them, but there's Amy, everyone. If you would like to serve on that committee, it is doing work. The adult committee I have as the chair, Candace Allen, with Daniel Ellis, Janet Hatmaker, Brian Buck, Jan Cagle, Tammy Lynn, Cheryl McCormick, and Melanie Hutzel. If you would like to participate on that committee, and I don't have your name, please let me know or contact Candace Allen. Substance Abuse Committee, Gina Steele-Mack is a co-chair with Courtney Neiman, is that correct? And Gina's not here today. On that committee, I have Ben Young, Camden Long, Michelle Troffetter, and Susan Stone. And Erin, are you on that?
Yes, I am on that.
Okay.
And
I'm also on that. This is Kayla Simon.
And I as well, Mindy Grimm is on that committee.
And Mindy Grimm. Lovely. Thank you. Right. Okay. So Sasha, be thinking about where we're going to put you.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the Substance Use Committee sounds pretty good.
Woo-hoo, Erin. Erin can recruit you right now.
Come on in, Sasha. The water's fine.
All right. I will send this out again with corrections and additions after this meeting. How about that? Y'all can get in touch and take it on. Okay. Kirby, I'm going to throw it back to you to give us an update from our state partners.
All right. Let me pull that up. So many files open. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. My desktop, it's a mess. Okay. Okay. So just a few updates since we last met in November. The first being the 2022 needs assessment, which was already talked about earlier from Mary Nell, but just a reminder that those are due to me by email on or before April 1st, which you're all very much well aware of. I've also, just a reminder to also include data to support your needs. Obviously the most recent, the better. And you can also utilize the department's Fast Facts portal when gathering data, and I've included a link to that in the in my update. You're not required to use it by any means. It's just there as a tool. As always, you can utilize data wherever you find it. The FY21 Joint End Report is complete and it's been posted to the department website. I've included a link to where that can be accessed as well. I encourage you to take a look at it if you have the time to, not just because it took me a really long time to put it together, cough, cough, but because it's a really great report. It highlights all the accomplishments within the department and also highlights the accomplishments of the regional planning and policy councils as well. So if you have the time, I encourage you to take a look at it. And we have a new format this year, so. The department has selected a total of 10 programs across the state to receive $6.5 million in new funding to expand mental health services for children and youth. The new state funding was budgeted for Governor Bill Lee and appropriated by the Tennessee General Assembly in the department's budget for fiscal year 2022. In the department's announcement of funding, grantees were instructed to collaborate with community stakeholders, including local education authorities and other partners to design proposals that would have the greatest impact in addressing outstanding needs. The selected proposals increase school-based services and respond to the increasing need for emergency psychiatric services for children and youth. Available funding under this announcement was divided proportionally among the department's 7 planning regions based on the number of children and youth living in each region. I have every region listed, but I'm just going to talk about Region 2. And if you're interested in seeing the other regions, it's included in my department update. So for Region 2, East Tennessee, Helen Ross McNabb Center, $1.1 million, creating 3 crisis response teams, which will partner with schools, East Tennessee Children's Hospital, and detention centers to improve outcomes from a child's mental health crisis. So that's exciting for Region 2. I believe that was on, there was increasing school-based services on your needs assessment last year, if I recall.
It was.
So that's a step in the right direction for sure. Let me see here. In December 2021, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with this, as it was shared via email and talked about, Commissioner Williams talked about this as well, the department in TennCare published the Public Behavioral Health Workforce Work Group, that is such a mouthful, report. The document contains research, data, and strategies for addressing workforce challenges in publicly funded mental health and substance use services, some of which have already been translated into state budget requests. Convened by the department and TennCare over the summer, the work group was comprised of diverse stakeholders from public behavioral health provider organizations, mental health and addiction advocacy groups, colleges and universities, and the statewide Planning and Policy Council. Excuse me. Over the course of 3 meetings, participants identified gaps and needs in the public behavioral health workforce, developed detailed strategies for creating positive change, and authored the report for key decision makers. I've included a link to this report, so where it can be accessed, and it will be included in my department update. But this was what was used for Commissioner Williams and TennCare in their budget request for the FY23 budget proposal. And last but not least, the Tennessee Recovery Navigators are celebrating another successful year of delivering life-changing interventions for individuals living with addiction. The department is releasing a new annual report which details the program's successes despite a full year of pandemic-related restrictions. The Tennessee Recovery Navigators use their own personal experience of addiction and recovery to talk with patients at Tennessee hospital emergency departments and to try to connect them with treatment resources. The patients they see have either recently overdosed, are experiencing active withdrawals, or have presented with a substance use disorder. For state fiscal year 2021, the navigators saw an increased patient interaction over the previous year of 2,967. 76% of patients were placed into treatment, and 4 hospitals were added to the program for a total of 42 across the state. Now in their 4th year, the Tennessee Recovery Navigators have worked with more than 6,700 patients statewide. So that's really exciting, really great highlights. And I've included a link. Yeah, I've included a link there for the Recovery Navigators, so you can watch a recent video series that highlights their accomplishments. And that's what I have. And Chris, I'll send this over to you in an email.
That's awesome. Very exciting. And yes, Region 2 was a part of bringing about some change that from one of the needs assessments, and I think we're going to hear more about that. Ben, at the last meeting in November, I know that you referenced the commissioner's, well, I think it was her budget proposal, and I went and watched that, and it was exciting, and who knew that could be the case, right? But it was heartfelt, it was clear, it was impassioned. So I commend that for everybody's viewing pleasure. How weird, right? But yeah, be informed, and there's lots going on. I know that this, Kirby, the budget is going before the legislature this week. Is that correct? Next week. 2 weeks?
I'm going to let Kurt answer all the.
I see him doing fingers. I can't read that. He doesn't know sign, Daniel.
No, I don't. My daughter, well, I don't know if they're still doing it at her school or not, but that was their second language for a while that they were learning was American Sign Language. Anyway, side note. The department goes before the Senate Health and the House Finance Committee next week to present our budget that is in Governor Lee's proposed FY23 budget. What Kirby read off, and I was a little distracted answering another email, so I apologize. I believe what she read off and reported on was our budget requests that were made back in November. 2 Mondays ago, the governor gave his state of the state, and that same night, the FY23 proposed budget came out, and we saw what requests had been moved forward. I don't know if Ben or someone else is going to go over that later in the committee meeting, or I can go over that, whatever y'all want. I don't want to step on Ben's toes.
No, you go ahead, sir.
Okay. Let me pull up my document then. But we did get quite a few of the items that we requested. This is, I think, the overall budget for FY23 for all the state is like $54 billion, which is quite a step up from years past. The things in our budget that were moved forward, the cost of living adjustment, we had originally asked for just under 36 million. 18 million was included in the FY23 proposed budget. That represents about a 10% rate increase for our providers. $6 million that we asked for substance abuse clinical treatment was included in this year's budget, and that is not I think at some point in people's minds, and we probably didn't explain it as well as we could have, that $6 million was tied to the 25 or 26 million for the residential treatment infrastructure expansion. The $6 million is separate from that, and will, according to Matt Yancey, will be available to fund some additional services, different additional slots throughout the substance abuse continuum. There's $1 million that's been added to the addiction recovery program. There is $900,000 for the Creating Jobs initiative, and that state money will allow us to pull down some federal matching money, I believe. So we're excited about that. The IT support services, we did a kind of a survey throughout state government and found that those IT services that are so important to organizations now, that we were really lean and mean with the staff we had providing those services. So that $520,000-ish will go to adding additional staff to provide those services. There were two items that were not included in our request that were included in the proposed budget. One was $550,000 for the Morgan County Residential Recovery Court. As you recall, I believe that was the first residential recovery court in the nation. So that just continues the state's commitment to that amazing project, and I think it will allow them to serve more individuals there. And then a couple of years ago, I don't know if anyone can forget now that every time you turn on a football game or a basketball game, you see Jamie Foxx or FanDuel or DraftKings or somebody telling you to place a bet. But Tennessee legalized sports gaming, sports gambling. And part of that authorization, the department gets a small percentage of those revenues to help address problem gambling. So there was about $1.2 million that had accumulated from that percentage that is being added to our budget. I think that hits all the things that are in the proposed budget. Commissioner, in an email that I think definitely the statewide or the regional chairs got. So you might want to pass this along to your membership if you want to, Mary Nell. She goes through all this much better than I did in the email, but she also mentions three other things. One, there's some money in this year's budget to help rebuild a psychiatric hospital in Hamilton County. Obviously, Moccasin Bend I think it is the oldest RMHI structure that we have now. So there's some money in the budget to address the rebuild of that hospital in Hamilton County. And then the two other items, the crisis continuum expansion. This was also something that was in the needs assessment for several years, but we requested about $10 million in recurring funds and 15 in non-recurring funds to establish 3 new walk-in or CSU facilities across the state. And I think commissioners mentioned that there being need in Northwest Tennessee and Middle Tennessee for those. That was not included in the proposed budget for FY23, FY13. I'm taking us back 10 years. But that project has been presented to the committee that is making decisions about how to spend the American Recovery Plan dollars. Tennessee got about $4 billion in federal COVID funding through American Recovery Plan bill. So she has presented that to that group and hopes that they'll fund it. And I think she said that she's very hopeful that they will fund that. Actually, the governor mentioned expanding crisis services in the state of the state. So we're hopeful that it will be included. Not final yet. I want everyone to hear that. It's not final, but we're hopeful. And then the other thing that she mentions in that email that we presented to that federal COVID dollar committee is an expansion of the rural recovery program that basically provides mobile services. They have a bus. There's 2 buses. I think one's operated by Helen Ross McNabb, one by Buffalo Valley, and they're providing. They'll go and park the bus in a parking lot in a county on a certain day, and then the next week they're at another in another county, and just really cool program, and hopefully we'll get dollars to expand that program to some other buses.
Kurt,
That's
wasn't one of the crises, I think you mentioned Northwest Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and isn't there one considered for Upper East for the crisis?
I'm not sure about that, Mary Nell. I know that there is, I believe that, well, someone on here will tell me, but Hamblin County has, their CSU has reopened or is reopening.
Reopening, that's what it was, okay.
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
Thanks. But yeah, that's the, yeah, thanks, Candace. I knew you'd know. So,
Mary, now the proposed CSU locations are Northwest Tennessee, the Clarksville area, and the rural area of Middle Tennessee, south of Nashville. And so that could be Rutherford County area. It could also be Maury County, in those areas.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess there's another question. Avis wrote in the chat box, she said the next step in this process is presenting the governor's budget to the members of the Tennessee General Assembly. And I'm asking the question, and Ben will probably speak to this also, but if there is something that you have an opinion on as a organization or as a citizen, what should you do?
Well, since you've loaded that question for us, and actually the commissioner, when she briefed some of the leadership from the Planning Council last week, she even asked the question, okay, so we got an awful lot. Now, what's your position going to be for, advocating, in the future? And of course, we're very grateful. So the first position would be tell your legislator you're extremely supportive of the governor's budget and why. So those are important things. So it doesn't matter if you're from the addiction side or you're from the mental health side. If there's something in that budget you really like and are pleased with, tell the legislators why you support it and why it's important to you. The second thing I think that we have to acknowledge is, despite the fantastic budget proposal that the department made to the governor, we didn't quite get everything we asked for, okay? And, that's not Ben being greedy or trying to teach all of you to be greedy, but a very key piece of what the department advocated for is missing, and that is the $10 million that was asked to be able to establish 3 different pipeline funds. And, one would be able to be used to recruit new professionals to the field, and particularly to work in public sector mental health. There was a portal for people to be doing their search and connected to respected providers, that sort of thing. And Kurt, what was the third bucket there in that $10 million?
Say the other two. Sorry, I was.
The one in the middle was the portal, and it was $1 million. The one on the left was $5 million, and it was funds for recruitment and retention, like sign-on bonuses, retention compensation, that sort of thing. But there was a third bucket. Oh, the third bucket was for providers like McNabb or Ridgeview, if they're going to do licensing supervision for, a young professional or host graduate level students, in their field placements, so the organization, the agency, could actually get compensated for that that supervision, because we all know, we got to train these folks up so we can place them, and that isn't a cheap thing to do, because you got to you got to provide that supervision. So that $10 million is something that's important. And so, you know, I told the commissioner that the MHA would certainly be going out to advocate for those $10 million. The other thing I think it's always fair to discuss is the reason why the department asked for the 20% adjustment. And so the reason the department asked for the 20% adjustment was contracts had not been brought along for a very long period of time. And that made it hard for every organization to recruit and hire and retain staff, and kept us all in this turnover mode that we were replacing staff. And so that's problematic. And so the fact that we got the 10% adjustment in the budget, that is fantastic, got to be celebrated, but it doesn't mean we're done. Okay. And then the other thing I think is, as I see Brian Buck in his office doing his finger tapping, I don't know the exact percent that 10-care got approved for, and I don't know if it's enough either. So we have to continue to keep talking about the behavioral health workforce. It's not going to get fixed in one fell swoop. And actually, Mary, now I'll leave you at this. The changes we make today, for our behavioral health workforce, they're going to be what shapes it 10, 15 years from now. And the governor left the biggest piece off of it. Yes, the money, salary money is nice, but the pipeline didn't get paid attention to. So we need that pipeline addition behind the budget. Need the legislators to add it back, or the governor to add it back when he amends the budget. But we need that pipeline. It's as essential as the payroll increases for those providers. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
communicating back to the legislators to whom this budget will be presented. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kurt. Kirby, where are we now?
I don't have the agenda pulled up. Hold on.
Is Zach around? Do we have a legislative summary?
No, that's only in August.
Okay, so I added oldie. Are we ready to move on to subcommittee reports? We kind of had one with Ben, so.
Yeah, we're done.
All right, let's jump. Amy, you have anything to report from your committee? You guys have been meeting like wild things.
Yes, so the CNY committee has been very active. We started meeting in October, and we meet the first Thursday of each month. So we met February 3rd was our last time. We've had great attendance. I, again, will put in the plug for virtual. We had 18 people virtually meet our last meeting, and that is basically our average. So it's been a huge response. We feel like we have a really good sector. We have the schools represented. We've outreach to the police, the SRO officers in schools. DCS is involved, of course, community agency. So we feel we have a pretty good sector. Sarah Canada is online here. She's one of our parents. She's been wonderful, giving us a lot of feedback from her perspective and her child. So that's been very helpful. So we are finalizing our 2 goals that we will submit, and we will have that to you before March 15th, because I'm going to go on vacation. So ours will be in plenty of time. We are just, we've already narrowed down the 2 goals we want to work on. We're fine tuning them, and then we're just adding as much data as we can.
Wonderful. Woohoo! All right, meet that bar, everybody. There you go. Children and youth.
We will not be forgotten with the children and youth.
Absolutely not. All right, Candace.
Okay. Well, We don't have that many people. That's great, though. I think I said this a previous time. I remember several years where there was zilch, report from CMY. So that's great. So we have met, and I want to echo Ben's comments about the pipeline. That is one of our first and foremost needs that we discussed to put forth, that we're going to continue to push the ask of the 20% that the commissioner put forth and support that. And we also, the disparity between, like the public and the private sectors. And so we're, and not only the impact that Ben talked about, but not having a rate increase, not only the turnover, but I have seen, and I'm sure every other behavioral health center has as well, cutting positions because we have no, because we can't keep people, just to fund what we have. So we're going to continue to probably push that forward. And then also, we're also looking at some linguistic diversity as well in that, because we know that we need to support other languages, Spanish, etc. in that, as Daniel Ellis keeps reminding us and bringing to the forefront. The other need that we discuss primarily is the lack of follow-up case management / peer support from individuals leaving jails, and we know from the hospitals as well. I think a lot of our community jails are incorporating treatment or, counseling inside the jail. And there are some release planning going on, of course, as we have in our CJs, but we don't have the ability to have those core people that follow people once they leave those jails. You can set up the best laid plans ever, but if you don't have somebody to walk alongside of somebody and navigate in the community and navigate all the different services. So we're looking into that as well. So those are the two things that we kind of prioritized. If anyone else has any ideas, please let me know. We'll be working on getting those data and those needs together. I apologize, as I thought that the Housing Committee had been separated out, because I thought that was the last thing that was discussed. I think so. I did not include some of them, and I need to get emails from some of the other people that you mentioned as well. So we'll probably reach out to some people that are primarily working in, under the housing division to get some more ideas.
Great. I'll get this, like I said, I'll get this membership list updated and sent out.
Okay, thank you.
Mary now.
Yes.
I may have somebody interested in joining the housing committee. I'm talking to them right now. They work for KCD.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, send them on to me. All right, we already heard. Okay, we already heard from Ben. And as I said, let's see. Gina Steelmack was not able to be here, but she said that she does have a, they have been meeting, the Substance Abuse Committee has been meeting virtually. They're working on their needs assessment goals. They will submit the need for more beds for uninsured. Uninsured, it is a big challenge to find placement for folks who need detox, who have no insurance, do not qualify for safety net, or places that don't take safety net. I don't even I don't know enough to speak to it, although I know I'm challenged when I'm presented with those folks and trying to find places for them to safely be treated. So that is going to be something that their committee is looking into, and they're still trying to determine what the other goal might be that's appropriate. We have included Susan Stone, who's from Claiborne County. She's with Live Free. I'm not familiar with her, but I've had some problems with her email, so we've got to get that. One question going back to Kurt. Michelle Truffetter, I don't know if she's on here, expressed interest in more transparency and two-way communication regarding what happens once we submit our needs assessment goals to the state. I think it kind of feels sometimes like we send it out there and we don't get that feedback back. That's probably, I think we do. I remember we get feedback back to us, like here's what we've accepted. But maybe what Michelle's talking about is we don't get the why. Why was this not accepted or why was that accepted? I'm not sure what we get.
Mary, now let me touch on the process because it actually comes to the state planning council's planning and budget committee. So each of the 7 regions submits their needs assessment documents. They all get sent to Kirby. Kirby then takes all of them and puts them into, a matrix. So we see what each of the 7 regions are, and then she dials it down a little bit. So say there are 4 regions that recommend improving school-based mental health resources. Well, then she identifies that as a need, but then she cites regions 1, 2, and 4, and 5 all said the same thing. So we are able to see it wasn't just one region that said that specific recommendation, it was multiple regions. What happens when all of those documents get to the state planning and budget committee is we see them all, and then that committee meets, and usually we send the entire document along to the executive committee of the planning council, which then submits them to the commissioner for review. Now, they live at the State Department of Mental Health because the department then uses the recommendations in its own deliberations, and particularly with guiding the multi-year plan that they have to report to the federal government because of the block grant, that sort of thing. So these things have a life. They don't really die. They can, let me restate that. They may not get very far if it's only one region that makes a recommendation and that's it. But if multiple regions make the same recommendation, that's when something usually gets some legs and can start to take off, okay? But all the recommendations get to the State Planning Council, Planning and Budget Committee, they get to the Executive Committee, and then we can send them right back to you all too after the Planning and Budget Committee has met as well. But there should be comfort in the fact that there is representation from this region on the Planning and Budget Committee. That would be me, that would be someone from the council too. We get to see all those recommendations.
I think that's, having served on here for 400 years now, I have started to see that come true. So I know that what you're saying is not just accurate, but it's really kind of a living influence that continues beyond the writing. We're not, we may not have our wish granted this year, but it's going to impact out there in people's minds who are making those decisions and acting on them. So I thank you for that. And Chris will have gotten that in writing so we can reflect that in the minutes that we brought it up. But yeah, I think it might be a helpful thing, Ben, to get a loop back, just a communication from the budget committee. What is it? P&P budget planning. I don't know.
Planning.
Yeah, that come back and say, here's where your proposals got to. I think
Mary, now this is Kurt and Ben. That was great. Another thing that we've done, we did it last summer. Avis and Kirby and Amy put this together, but and they can chime in if I'm getting this wrong. But as far as feedback, I believe it was for the needs that were identified by multiple counties. we provided a response to those needs to say, hey, here's what we're doing around this, or this is what we would like to do, or thanks, that's interesting information, and we've tried to get some communication back and forth to you in that regard, so that there is, like you said, some two-way. But Ben described the process. I think we did that document last summer, and then maybe if.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see it about June every year
too. Sorry, Ben.
We see it about June of every year.
Yeah, we're going to try to do it every year. And I think summer.
All right, so that may take care of that loop back, circling back. That'd be great. Okay.
In addition to what both Kurt and Ben shared, once that document, the final document, has been approved by the commissioner, and I'm speaking of the needs assessment summary, it is posted on our department website for public view. So you can always go back and look at that document in its entirety. The multiple needs by region document that Ben was speaking, where multiple regions have submitted the same needs. That document is also on the department website as well. And again, that document with feedback that was done, as Kurt mentioned, this past June, and I think a couple of years prior to that, that will also be done this year as well. And those documents are definitely shared with all the regional chairs to send out, to disseminate to those council members that feedback from the department when we do that document. That will happen again this year. So we will send it to the chairs, and you will disseminate it to your council members, and they will have the feedback from the department.
Great, thank you. Okay. I do not have anything else on my agenda, Kirby. Do I? Yes, I do. I wanted to remind everyone that our next meeting, except for those deadlines we've got for getting our needs assessments written, getting them turned in, our next meeting for this group will be May 11th, August 10th, and November 9th. Are there any other announcements? What's going on that we may need to know about as far as fun events? Brian Buck, are you riding bikes in Oak Ridge, or what's going on over there?
No, we unfortunately don't have our Ride for Hope schedule because of the pandemic. I guess, if I did take a moment of the group's time to echo what Ben and Candace said about the challenges, and I'm not telling anybody on the call anything they don't know related to workforce development and how significant that is at this time. I mean, public mental health is no stranger to these types of challenges, but the pandemic has taken it to a whole new level. And as Candace mentioned, it's impacting access to care, whether it's a vacant position or whether it's an intentional decision to limit the number of people that a doctor, a nurse practitioner, therapist, care coordinator is seeing in an effort not to burn them out and have additional turnover. So the efforts of the funding that's in the budget we're headed in the right direction, and we're not there, but it's a good step. And I think to not lose sight of, let's continue to move in that direction for the health of our system. It just makes a lot of sense. I mean, and again, I had this real simple, concrete brain about, in order to expand services, you really need that workforce. So the workforce is the foundation of the expansion of services. So it makes sense to prioritize that in my mind. So I don't know. I know that's not an announcement, but I was thinking it as we were talking about those subjects earlier, so.
Thank you.
And Mary Nell, I'll just drop a stat on this group so you understand it.
Okay.
The turnover rate that public sector providers have experienced has doubled because of the pandemic. So think that through. If your organization always has a 10% turnover rate, it's doubled now. And as you got folks leaving to go work telehealth jobs and do other jobs and things like that, but your turnover has doubled. And now you've got all those troubles trying to replace somebody and recruit to the public sector, which is harder work, you know, and stuff like that. So the challenges are real. And that's why we got to invest that money in the pipeline.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any announcements other than support for the work, the reason we're doing this work? That's what I hear. Announcements regarding activities, anything Valentine's? Nobody's doing a fundraiser for Valentine's?
No, but this is Chris. I've got, I guess, a small comment about the workforce, and then I do have one save the date announcement.
Okay.
I think, and this is, I guess maybe the persons that work with folks with intellectual or developmental disabilities regarding workforce turnover, that has been a problem in that system for over a decade. At some services, the turnover rate is 70%. So that it's a newer issue in other areas, but in our area, it's been for a long time, and it's still an issue, which means that it's not an easy issue to fix. There's not a quick fix to it. So yes, that stresses the importance of it. And then I'll get to the positive news here. For those of you who haven't been to a lot of these meetings, I work obviously with the intellectual and developmental disability crowd. And I'm with an organization called TNAD, which is dual diagnosis. And what we call dual diagnosis is somebody with an intellectual or developmental disability and a co-occurring mental health condition going on. And we are starting to organize our annual conference for August. So just kind of keeping that in mind for people to get different CEUs for that, and also for families to participate. We've made a huge emphasis in the past couple years for families to be educated on this, because they are out there doing this work, but yet they don't get a whole lot of education on how to do it. But our theme this year is trauma. And if we think about, if we look at the pandemic, but even beyond the pandemic, that folks with intellectual disabilities experience trauma and have experienced trauma from the pandemic, but nobody's dealing with them or the workforce. And that comes back to that workforce issue. Nobody's dealing with the trauma that has happened to the workforce. So we're going to be dealing with that at our annual conference this year. So it's really exciting, and we're in the process of confirming all our speakers.
Wow. And do you have a date? You don't have a date?
Oh, yes, we have a date because I've signed the contracts.
When is it?
August the 12th, and it's going to be a hybrid conference. We're going to go hybrid this year instead of 100% virtual. We're trying to work our way back into a sense of normalcy and do it half and half. So please support us in that, because I have never organized a hybrid conference before.
Huge. That's tremendous. Thank you, Chris. Any other announcements, save the date kind of things that you want us to know about what's going on in the region?
Mary, now we have hired two peers to help expand our peer recovery call center. And so we will have some evenings covered as well as part of Saturday covered with these additional hires. So we're very excited about that.
That's wonderful. Yay. Someone else was speaking. I'm not sure who it was.
This is Tammy Wilson.
Okay.
Just something fun. So Tennessee Voices is hosting Behind the Mask, Unmasking Mental Health for youth up to 24 across the region. It's actually statewide, but the art's going to be displayed regionally. So kids are completing art projects with mask templates showing what they want to be seen through their mental health and how they want to reflect on that. And those art displays are going to be held at the Art Emporium in Knoxville. They're actually giving us a whole big section, so they're going to be able to put their art on canvas and have it displayed and have an in-person and virtual type event as well.
When's that going to be?
It is May 1st through the 7th, so I believe it's the 6th. May 6th is going to be the actual event in person there, but the art is going to be displayed all month.
All of May.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see it. That sounds like a really cool art therapy project.
Yeah, it's neat. We're getting submissions from all across the region, so it's fun.
Very exciting. Go ahead, Jan.
So my question is, does anyone know when the NAMI Stomp Out the Stigma event's going to take place?
Is it the same as the walk? The walk is on May the 21st.
Thank you. That is. Oh yeah, it's right. Walk the walk. Is that what it's called?
And is it going to be downtown or?
Let me look at my papers.
Is it in Knoxville?
It is in Knoxville. Oh, locations East, Middle, and West Tennessee. So maybe it's in 3 locations. I don't know.
On the same day. I think that's what they did 2 years ago.
I think
There
that's
are
what it
separate
is.
regional events. I don't remember exactly. I'm looking at it.
I'll forward you this information, Jan.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Broadnax put in the chat box about Candace with Connect Ministries, Chris, for housing. They have a reentry program. So be thinking about other referral folks and agencies and people to bring some more ideas. That's what we're all about. Any other announcements? Okay. Well, with that, Kirby, do you have anything else for us?
I don't have anything on my end, no.
So I can call for a motion to adjourn, or do we have, Huber, do you have something?
No.
Okay, you're moving up. All right. I can call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. This is Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Do I hear a second?
This is Erin, second.
Aaron, second. All right, we are now adjourned, and I look forward to seeing all of you via email until our next meeting. Thank you so much for your participation.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.